6.7, our 11 a.m. item, consideration of presentation on Golden State Finance Authority Recover California Homebuyer Assistance Program. And with us we have, and I apologize if I butcher the name, Don Nguyen.
Yes, sorry about that. I was trying to unmute myself. It's actually Dan Nguyen, but no problem. I'm Dan Nguyen. I'm with Golden State Finance Authority. I want to thank you guys for giving us time today to speak a little bit about this new program we're excited to offer to the residents of Lake County. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick here so you guys can take a look at the presentation. I believe you also have a copy of it in your packets.
And there it is.
We're just happy to be able to speak today, and I'll be brief as possible with respect to time. Just real quickly, this is a program that we're offering up to $350,000 to assist home buyers with purchasing a property outside of severely impacted fire areas throughout California. The program is intended to help low to moderate income households bridge that gap between what the cost of housing is versus what they can afford. This program is providing $28 million available to assist with that financing provided through the California Department of Housing and Community Development. It's being funded through a CDBG-DR grant, also known as a Community Development Block Grant for disaster recovery, specifically for fire victims. And we are proud to be the program administrator and manager for this program. Just a quick background for the audience, if you're not familiar with Golden State Finance Authority, we have been in the arena of affordable housing for the last 31 years, specifically with regards to home ownership. We are a public agency and entity, and we focus again on housing programs that assist people in financing the purchase of a property. To help with that flexibility, we are working with all loan types, including FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional financing. Outside of this product, our other programs have provided over $660 million just in down payment assistance over the last 31 years. And we've helped over 85,000 families to achieve the dream of homeownership. And even though we are providing primarily down payment assistance, we do not lose sight of the fact that our programs do work very hard to ensure that the applicants that qualify for our programs are kept in a position where they're able to afford the payments on these properties, and most importantly, able to keep those homes. So as you're probably well aware, and it's been discussed, I think, throughout this meeting, that housing is a very important issue, especially in California. We realize that the benefits of being a homeowner span far and wide. Some simple facts that homeownership improves the stability of neighborhoods. It helps the educational achievement of those people in the neighborhood. Having buy-in to a community also increases civic engagement. It improves the physical and psychological health of those in that community. And it also correlates to a crime reduction for community members. From a financial aspect, individuals that own homes on average have a significantly higher net worth than those that don't. Now, this is from a survey in 2022 from Consumer Finance. It says that the average or the median net worth of someone that owns a home is just under $400,000, whereas a renter or someone that doesn't own a home has a median net worth of just over $10,000. And so you can see the vast gap there when it comes to comparing people that own properties and people that don't. And so that's why we think homeownership is so important. What this program is specifically looking to do is it's looking to help those that were impacted in Lake County in 2018 by the fires. The qualification for this program, aside from your standard loan qualification criteria, is pretty simple. This program is open to people that were both renters and homeowners in 2018 that were impacted by the fire. They have to be below 80% of the area median income based on their current household size and the county or the area where they're looking to buy their property. There is a qualification requirement where they lived in 18 must be considered a very high or a high fire severity zone. And to do that, there's going to be a map tool that we have available on our website to assist potential applicants with looking up that information. Now, this is available for 10 counties in total. One of them is Lake County, and it is specifically designated for the 2018 fires. What we're going to be giving the potential applicants and home buyers access to is basically up to $350,000 in the form of a forgivable second mortgage. The second mortgage is going to have a 5-year term, and the way it works is we're going to prorate and forgive a portion, equal portion of that amount every year for that 5-year term. So basically 20% is forgiven every year that they live and retain that property. Now this second is going to be deferred, no payments, no interest. And so it's just going to sit there. And as long as they live in that property for the preceding 5 years after the loan closes, the entire amount is going to be forgiven. The purpose of the fund source is going to be to give them access to down payment, as well as closing costs, including their prepaids. And we're also going to cover the cost of homebuyer education for these potential applicants. And so our goal is to help those that qualify get into that property, hopefully with no money out of pocket. Now, the process for the program, this is just a very generic, high-level overview. Basically, the way that it works is the lenders that offer our programs are listed on our site. Potential applicants can contact those lenders to get started, and they will help the borrowers and applicants determine if they are eligible for our program. To do that, they're going to qualify the borrower for their maximum first mortgage amount based on their income. And to keep it affordable, we are making sure that that qualification of that mortgage remains between 42 and 45%. We want to make sure that the applicants have skin in the game, but they're also in a position where that monthly payment is something that they can afford. Once we get information, we can determine how much they can qualify for based on their need. And their need is pretty simple. Their need is the cost of the property, minusing the amount of loan they can qualify for, and then adding back in the cost associated with closing that loan transaction. And so again, the goal is to get them into that property with no money out of pocket. Once they know what they can qualify for, they can begin their property search. The lender will help them on, behind the scenes with everything else in terms of documentation. As part of the program requirements, we are having them take a homebuyer education course just so that they are aware of the responsibilities that come with homeownership. And at the end of the process, they will close their loans, we will fund the assistance, and they will have their own home. Now, to kind of give you guys a really generic and basic example of how this could potentially work, is let's say that based on your borrower's income or the applicant's income, they qualify for a first mortgage of $268,000. This program will give them access to up to $350,000 in assistance, which means that they can potentially buy a home that costs $600,000, even though they only qualify for a loan of just $268,000. With that in mind, it gives them enough money for the entire down payment required on this transaction, and it will also provide them financing and funds to cover their closing costs as well. Now, I do realize that every borrower's situation is going to be different. Hopefully, not everyone has to buy a home that costs $600,000, but it is an available option for them for this program. As I mentioned earlier, the calculation for the amount of assistance they can qualify for is pretty simple. Again, we're going to take whatever their purchase price or the value of that property is. We're going to take out the amount of the loan they qualify for as a mortgage, and then we're going to add back in their closing costs and their prepaids. Now, in the event that the potential applicant has access to liquid assets like checking, savings accounts, stocks that are over $100,000, anything over $100,000, or if they have any duplicate benefits like they got FEMA funding or they have SBA funding that still remains, that was intended for the acquisition of a replacement property, those things will be considered in reducing the amount of their potential home buyer's assistance, but they are going to have, again, access to up to $350,000 per household. From a mortgage standpoint, we're not doing anything fancy or complicated. We're just providing a very basic 30-year fixed rate mortgage available in the common loan types of FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional. In most cases, because we are providing a significant amount of assistance, they're probably going to be using the conventional loan product and therefore avoiding mortgage insurance. The program does have a loan limit cap on the first of $766,550, or the limit for the county and loan type. But again, with the amount of assistance we're providing, they probably won't have to worry about that. The most important thing, aside from being impacted by the fires in 18 in Lake County, is that they also have to meet the income requirements of the program, which are based on the county that they're buying in, as well as the household size. And so this program is intended to be flexible, and so it is low to moderate. We're looking at 80% of AMI based on household size. As far as credit score requirements, very generous. It's a 640 minimum credit score, which is probably one of the lowest score minimums out there, especially when it comes to a down payment program. And then the ratios, again, are going to be between 42 and 45, just to ensure that the potential applicants have some skin in the game, but also are having a payment they can afford to keep and therefore keep their homes. And then we are requiring at least one borrower, if there's multiple borrowers, at least one take the online 8-hour class for homebuyer education, and our program will cover the cost of that class as well. As far as the properties that they can buy, it's very flexible. It's single family residences, it can be condos, it can be townhomes, as well as PUDs, and it can be manufactured homes as well. HUD does require that the size of the property correspond to the size of the household. So depending on how many people intend to live in the household, it will determine the minimum and the maximum number of bedrooms for the property being purchased. And obviously, we want to make sure that the property they're buying is not in a hazardous fire area. And so they are going to be required to purchase outside of high and very high fire hazard zones. And they can use that mapping tool that's available on our website. And then lastly, as far as the property goes, the properties must be eligible for a standard homeowners insurance policy. For this program, funding source, they're not going to allow any California FAIR plans as accompanying plans. And so it has to be a standard homeowners insurance policy that does include fire coverage. Now, for applicants to get started, it's really simple. They can obviously contact us if they have any questions, but they're going to want to reach out to a lender that participates in our program. And we have a list of those on our website, for all the lenders that are participating, including the branch locations and the languages that they can accommodate. These lenders have been trained, they understand the program, and they will be the liaison between the applicant and GSFA. They can furnish them with complete program guidelines, interest rates, APRs, and will help them determine how much assistance they can qualify for, process their application for the program, and walk them through the entire process. And so again, for any applicants or anyone that knows any applicants, the next step would be just to find a lender that they can work with for the program through our website. Now, to help bring the information available to the public, we are engaging in a comprehensive marketing and outreach campaign. We are working with our lender and realtor partners, both online and in person, to provide training, as well as information to all of the local realtor associations here in California. And we also are providing both video and social media content on all of our social media platforms. From a home buyer outreach perspective, we are focusing a lot on equity inclusion and underserved communities. To do that, we are working with local newspapers, radios to advertise the program. We also, again, have video and social media content for borrowers as well on our platforms. And we are going to be holding public events in all of the impacted 10 targeted counties. And as available, we will be providing each of the county board of supervisors more information as the events are scheduled. With that being said, we actually have an event scheduled for next week in Clear Lake. And so we are encouraging not only residents who were impacted by the fires in 18, but also anyone else that could be important in that process. That can include wildfire recovery agencies, organizations, real estate professionals, as well as members of the media to attend the event. We know that getting the information out there so that the prospective applicants are aware of the assistance available to them is going to be essential in helping more applicants qualify and take advantage of this program. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to the board in case there are any questions or comments for me.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Dan. Any comments or questions? Supervisor Pyska.
Yeah, thank you for this presentation. I've been hearing a lot about it. I know we do have a local lender that is working with the program. It's hard to look at this map with the high fire severity and understand that there are places in the county where people can move to. It seems like it's fairly limited.
Yes, that's definitely a valid concern, and it's a concern we've brought to HCD. For us, the intent of the program is to not only help applicants with purchasing a property, but also to ensure that they're able to purchase a property where they're not going to be put in danger in the future. And so our hope is that the residents can stay in the county. We actually have, I think, one applicant right now in Lake County that's, I believe, buying in Lake County as well. But yeah, that's our hope. And so we are working as best as we can with HCD on that. And then for those that, don't qualify for this program, we do have our other assistance products that don't have as many restrictions that are available to the county residents as well.
So it's the very high severity areas, high and moderate?
Sorry, Supervisor. It would be they have to buy outside of high and very high. So if you have a copy of the map.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's going to be any area that's not highlighted in pink, orange, or red.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the map yesterday. I don't, I'm not super familiar with the geography of Lake County, but there were some areas that are not highlighted. I just don't know if those areas actually have properties or they're in areas that are occupied.
We could put this map up. Johanna, I'll just email you the link really quick so we can all take a look at it.
I know I saw Big Valley was open city jurisdictions just because those are different maps. I don't know that the LRAs have been updated quite yet. I know that was being planned. I haven't seen that. And there's some shoreline areas that are also available.
Yeah.
Vice Chair?
I'll
let her finish because I think it's imperative that we talk about these areas, and then I'll go into mine.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's just one of my concerns is, trying to figure out where people can move if they want to take advantage of this opportunity in the county. It's pretty limited. The other concern that I have is, I'm always wary of getting people into homes or properties that are beyond what they can afford outside of just taking care of their mortgage payment. So when we look at taxes and insurance, and we know a $600,000 house costs a lot more in taxes for someone that only qualifies for $278,000. And then with insurance being in constant flux, we also know that it could double, triple, or quadruple at any given year. So I'm just wondering how if there are some safeguards in this program to protect a homeowner who's gone through this program and then finds themselves 2-3 years down the road in a place where they can't afford that property anymore.
That's a great question. I think the main way that we're addressing that is by putting a lower cap on this particular product than we do on any of our other programs, where we are capping their maximum mortgage they can qualify for at 45%. By doing that, it's going to lower the actual payment they have to make. Obviously, a lot of things are out of our control. As you mentioned, the cost of homeowner insurance, I'm experiencing that myself as well. But our hope is that because they're going to have access to so much equity in the property, and because we are going to be capping that ratio that they can qualify for their payment, it should provide them a very comfortable gap to be able to afford, any unforeseeable changes in their cost.
Vice Chair?
Sorry about that. I wasn't trying to tell you how to run the meeting. I apologize if it felt that way. I just wanted to make sure she got to emphasize.
No worries.
Just quickly, June, I got the flyer from the RCRC meeting, and I brought it. I know I posted it also. I only had a limited flyer, so this is going to be awesome opportunity to utilize this video. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page as well, so people could see that for the supervisor page on what we discussed here, so others will have the opportunity to understand. I too share the same concerns. We're a little worried about the red on the map and whatnot as well. But I hope some folks can take advantage of this in Lake County as well. Was really hopeful and excited when they disclosed this information that they were able to do this. Yeah.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, thank you. Number one, share the concerns about what seems to be the very limited applicability of relief in this county, just given the great majority of the territories that do fall in those high and very high wildfire risk areas. And I think as Golden State Finance Authority moves forward, having some granular understanding of how this program is going to roll out county by county would be helpful to you. Also helpful to get buy-in here locally to the extent it is going to be available. Not really a criticism, but when you give us a 14 or 15-page slide deck, but we aren't able to post it with the agenda, we are kind of reliant on the Facebook feed and the Granicus feed, and people can't always read that. I can't always read granular text in a slide deck when it's blown up on a big screen here. So if you're counting on that slide to have people follow the bouncing ball in a video presentation, I just want to point out that doesn't work out real well. I do want to, as a secondary effort, highlight the GSFA home.org website, in which Golden State Finance Authority does have the ReCoverCA Homebuyer Assistance Program highlighted as a call to action on their homepage. But even the website is a little deep because we have multiple programs. And so it's not necessarily the easiest surf once you get there. So just constructive criticism on how you're doing outreach, understanding local conditions that may impact your ability to move this program forward. And that's about it.
Thank you for your comments. Anything further? Supervisor Simon?
Appreciate the presentation. Just hopefully you can really advertise that meeting that's coming up in Clear Lake as much as possible to get folks there to be in person. It's great to make a phone call or other things, but really navigating the limited opportunities here. Just appreciate the outreach, and hopefully there'll be multiple meetings. Do like to see if someone does want to take advantage of the program, they have the opportunity to do that. So thank you for the presentation today, and let's hope someone can take advantage of it here in Lake County one way or the other. We do want to keep as many folks here as possible, but if they move to another area in California that is on the maps, then obviously that's a good thing for them personally. So hopefully we can get that. And then once the program rolls out, it'd be great if we could come back and get a report maybe from you here at the board, later on in the fall, just to talk about numbers and individuals who may have gone to the meeting or attempted to go through the program, because we'd love to partner with GSFA in the future to just help with our housing needs here in Lake County. So real important.
Thank you for that. So I do have a couple of questions. The 2018 fires, I could be wrong, but did not have a large impact in comparison to some of the other fires that we've had as far as a loss of homes. Everybody in Lake County would be eligible for this as long as they meet the financial criteria?
Supervisor, they actually, on that map that was pulled up earlier, their property that they were living in during the 18 window would have to be in one of the very high and high fire severity zones. So one of the pink, orange, and red areas to qualify.
Okay. And then one of my concerns was your debt to income ratios that you utilize. I believe that you said you have to be 80% of federal household income or something like that?
Yes, it has to be below 80% of the area median. And then based on that income, the qualifying income for the mortgage is typically lower. And then the ratio for the qualifying income would have to be between 42 and 45%.
And when you say qualify, the ratio, is that kind of like, here's my monthly payment versus what my monthly income is? Is that what that means, that term?
It'd be the overall debt, not just the housing ratio, but the total debt ratio. So including all of their calculated debts into that 45% cap.
And I get it that we're trying to provide some assistance to those that are struggling in order to get housing. I know that my comfort zone typically, and what I've learned and read often, is right around that 30%. To use 1/3 of your income for housing, where here we're asking 42 to 45% for somebody who's making already a pretty low sum of money, meaning that what's left over for everything else is that's a difficult ratio to work with, and I would hope that we can try to reduce that ratio as much as possible while still providing the ability to get funds. I do like the idea of the forgivable loans. Your numbers are hard for me to kind of identify exactly how that would function and work within the County of Lake, because the average home price is not $600,000. So I'm trying to kind of do the mental math on where that puts us. But I know that I would hope that anybody that does approach this program gives it its due diligence and really looks at their finances and their budget in order to ensure that it will provide long-term access. If they sell their home prior to being done with their primary mortgage, they would have to pay back the up to $350,000 that they borrow. Am I correct on that?
Not necessarily. Let me, if you don't mind, if I could address that first concern regarding the ratios. I just wanted to clarify the ratio that we're looking at is the total ratio of all of their debts, not just housing. So I think in your example, you're saying 30% as housing, which I completely agree with, is a very good number for housing debt. But our 45 would also include, auto payments, bills, utilities. It's the overall debt to the borrower, not just their housing debt. As far as the repayment of the assistance itself, it's a 5-year term. So as long as they live in the property for 5 years preceding the close of the loan, the entire amount would be forgiven. If they lived there for 2 years and they stopped living there either by selling or renting out, whatever portion isn't forgiven would be due at that time, and it's prorated equally for that 5-year term.
Okay, so I guess I misunderstood, because I thought that loan was a secondary loan and that you'd have to pay off your primary loan prior to start seeing the decrease in the payment. So I misunderstood that part.
My apologies.
No worries. That's me not being an expert in that field whatsoever. Appreciate the presentation. I see we have another question from Vice Chair.
Just one additional piece of information is what was explained to me is there's a possibility of a trade-off of gaining this equity with the forgiveness loan, where in essence the amount that's paid back might not even, they might not even have to pay the amount back because of the situation. So that's a plus. I know it's 8%. I agree, and I worry about that. But at the same time, there's a possibility some folks, will basically have generational wealth because of this program, and I think that's important, especially in Lake County, if possible.
Absolutely. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, thank you. And to the speaker, I acknowledge you did not invent the fire hazard severity zone maps. And but one reason why they generate such concern when we do talk with CAL FIRE about them is apparently they get utilized in numerous other ways, including this program you're speaking about us today. I was just taking a fresh look at the fire hazard severity map in Scotts Valley in particular, which is in my district, north and west of Lakeport. And because it's not in the map, because it's part of a local responsibility area covered by Lakeport Fire, Nonetheless, when we debate fire hazard versus fire risk, a good chunk of Scotts Valley would have fallen under the 2018 fire maps for the incidents. And it strikes me as incongruous that just because a good chunk of Scotts Valley escaped designation by the sole virtue of its sitting in an LRA versus an SRA, that fire risk is probably the better metric. Site-specific fire risk versus general fire hazard should be the appropriate metric for site-specific homebuyer assistance. So, and we just had another 50-acre wildfire up in there a couple weeks ago. So I will be following this closely. If in any way this is going to start pointing people to portions of Big Valley and Scotts Valley that are on the very edges of the state responsibility area, knowing the local response agencies may or may not have adequate resources to address fires in those areas, then I think the overall goal of your program has to be examined. If you are in fact trying to relocate people to more fire-safe areas, driving them up in the Scotts Valley in this indication is not necessarily where I would point them. So just wanted to share that comment.
Appreciate that, but I think there's a lot of other opportunities throughout the county. And so a program can't necessarily be scrutinized just by looking at a specific region, and they have to use some sort of mapping in order to get their criteria down. So appreciate the comments, appreciate the presentation and the opportunity for community members who may wish to take the opportunity here, and looking forward to the meeting in Clear Lake and seeing how that goes. I too hope that there'll be more meetings outside of just the city of Clear Lake, as there's many other areas around the county that can utilize that. So any further comments or questions? Seeing none, let's open it up for the public. Anyone wish to speak on this item? We've scared everyone out of the room, and no hands up in the Zoom room, and we'll bring it back. And Dan, thank you very much for your presentation today, and looking forward to continued interaction.
Thank you. Likewise.